Good evening. Chattanooga's Metropolitan Airport recently got into the solar power business, and the future is looking so bright there are plans to expand the project.
Indeed, this is the latest big solar project for the city. News Channel 9's John Pless just returned from the airport with that story and more. Good evening, John.
And good evening to you, Dave. Today's bright sunshine is, of course, a very welcome relief for all the wet, gloomy days we've had lately. The Metro Airport is tapping into this virtually endless supply of energy to go green in more ways than one. Right along the main runway sits a brand new 4.5-acre solar farm that went online just a few weeks ago. Before work started late last summer, it was a flat, grassy field.
It was ideal on multiple levels. One, a clear site with no shading is ideal, obviously, for solar. The second piece that made this very ideal was that this was a land asset that could not be utilized for any other purpose.
Mark Jones of Atlanta-based Inman Solar says local contractors built this solar farm, 95% of which was funded with a grant from the Federal Aviation Authority. It costs a little over $4 million to build.
And it was a perfect fit for us because we did have some property that was not usable for aviation purposes, and so to be able to use that to produce clean power, it just was one more step in our sustainability story.
The airport began a program 5 years ago to reduce pollution, waste, and energy consumption.
What this graph shows here is the number of kilowatt hours produced to date.
So far, the solar farm has generated more than 61,000 kilowatt hours of electricity with no pollution. That has saved 44 tons of carbon dioxide from going into the atmosphere. Plans are to double the solar farm as the airport prepares to get more federal grants. The electricity generated goes into the power grid we all use. And as the project expands, ground power units will be installed at the terminals for the aircraft.
It allows the airlines to pull up to the gate and shut down their engines completely so that they're not continuing to run their engines, which saves them money and also saves pollution.
The Metro Airport Authority should make at least $100,000 a year selling power back to the electric grid. And if all goes as planned, the Airport Authority would like to get more FAA grants and start work on phase 2, doubling that solar farm later this year. And the goal is to finish a third phase, making the airport totally self-sustaining and bringing more green power to the electric grid that we all share. Dave?